Okay, sorry everyone. I have changed networks a million times. Hope this one is the one that's gonna stick. Um, Not sure if I missed anything in my absence. Did the panelists introduce themselves yet? No?
We
Yes.
have.
Imagine, missed the introduction to my own interview. Just give me 5 seconds. I'm gonna grab the questions. Would have been super awkward if I'd done this interview in my underwear.
One of my mentees is trying to get in, and they receive a notice saying the meeting host will let you in.
Won't let them in. Can they
No,
try
it says,
again?
well,
Oh,
okay.
will let you in.
Yeah.
Is it Lesego?
No,
Oh, hectic. Okay.
it's Ntandu.
She's not in the. Can she try again? Maybe it was when I was
Okay.
going through network struggles. Okay, great. So everyone has introduced themselves.
I think
Love.
Cailin only connected now. I don't know if she can hear us yet, but I see her at the bottom of the screen.
Okay. Caitlin, do you maybe just want to introduce yourself? And then we will get right into it, the fun stuff. Is she unmuted? Caitlin? Okay.
I don't know if she can hear.
Or I can do it for her so long till she can sort out her mic and everything. So Caitlin is a second year medical student, MBCHB student. Wow. Don't want to bring Tigerberg lingo. She is a mentor in France. Okay, great. You just went through so many abbreviations of MBCHB there. All right, amazing. So you've all introduced yourselves, and I think everyone heard when I said why we are gathered here, just to get insight on the mentorship positions. So in case for some reason someone doesn't know what mentors are, what the role is, but they do, I just want to give a short intro to what the role actually is. So every residence and PSO should have a mentorship program where the newcomers of every year are put into groups of 5, 6, numbers vary depending on the number of newcomers that residence or PSO has. And each group of newcomers is assigned a mentor, and a mentor is a resident from that community who has decided to take up the role of service to help mentor a group of newcomers who are adjusting to university in their first year of university. But I mean, technically it's for first year, but I think a lot of mentors end up mentoring till you graduate and even after, which is really awesome when you have that relationship with a mentee. But essentially, the role is to help someone who has just stepped into uni to adjust to uni life and to cope with making friends, studying, and all the changes that come with university adjustment. So every community has a different way of um, acquiring mentors. So I think that'll be the first question that I will launch into is how do you apply for mentorship? I mean, you can speak for your community specifically. And everyone will see here that it'll vary from community to community. Some you do a caucus interview, but just to gain some insight, maybe some people are in the communities that you represent. So what did you have to do to apply for the role? Kiara, I'll start with you because your name's up there.
Okay, so how it worked for me is that we got a Google Docs form to fill in, just asking simple questions like why you want to be a mentor, what are you passionate about, what do you think you can contribute to Equite, And then after that, there was another Google Doc where you get to choose a time slot for an interview. And then you go to the interview, and once again, you get asked a few questions, and then you are told, I think, about 2 or 3 days later. But I think this year, obviously, it's going to be a bit different. So as far as I know, you'll still fill in the interview online on a Google document, but then obviously, I mean, the interview will be over Microsoft Teams, and it'll just be one-on-one between head mentor and applicant.
Okay, great, thank you. Natasha?
Yeah, so we basically had the same process for applying as Kiara's at Equate. So we filled in a Google form, also choose your own time slot, and then you just go for interview with some of the HARCOM members, such as the head mentor, the prim, and I think the vice prim. So it's just a little interview with them, and then you just wait for the announcement. So it's not too bad.
Nice. So also an interview. Seeing a trend here. Valeriia, how do I actually say your name? Because I don't want to be saying it wrong throughout.
Yeah, you were almost there, Valeriia.
Oh my gosh, I knew I'd have to say it with an accent, and I was really hoping. Okay, Valeriia.
Yes.
Okay. I'm ready.
So our application process was actually basically the same. It wasn't a Google form we had to fill in. They did send us a form through an email, and also had those basically generic questions: why you want to be a mentor, what motivates you, what are your strengths and weaknesses, and also afterwards, once you filled in the form, then you would get your own time slot and also do an interview. And we had a panel of the people who were interviewing you, which consisted out of our race head and a few of the people who used to be mentors, not even actually the outgoing mentors, actually some people who were mentors 2 or 3 years ago, because we have quite a few senior residents as well. And obviously the new head mentor also would conduct the interview, and they would ask you a few personal questions about your goals, about how you would put into practice the welcoming period, and what are your expectations, etc., etc. But yeah, the base is basically the same.
Nice. Okay, thank you. I really am starting to see a trend here. And has Cailin been able to join? Has she been able to get some audio?
I can see her icon, but
yes, I think.
Oh, there we go.
Cailin! Hi.
Hello.
There.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. I basically just have to echo what everybody else said, because in France it's pretty much the same. You can probably attest to that. The usual application form and then an interview.
Yeah. Okay, great. Interesting, because with the head mentor interview, there was a huge difference from community to community and how the elections went by. So this is really awesome that there's so much in common in terms of the process of how mentors come to be. Sorry, I just need to admit someone in the waiting room. Okay, epic. So, and I think that when people hear that you have to go through an interview or a caucus, depending on how the community does electing mentors, there's a lot of stress and anxiety and being in your head around having to sit or stand and get questions from other human beings and then answer said questions off the top of your head. And I think a lot of the time that actually costs communities some really good candidates who just think that they're not going to be able to sit through an interview or stand in caucus and answer a few questions. What advice or tips do you have that can help with the actual process of the interview? Is it as scary as we think it is to sit and have a panel of people ask you questions? And what did you guys do to make it less stressful? What advice do you have to actually go through an interview and not panic or feel like you completely botched it? Because obviously you all did amazing at it. Here you are. Caitlin, since you just finished off, maybe you should start us off on that one. You're on mute.
Sorry, I keep on saying you have to unmute me, but so I think the best advice is that the people in the interview are not there to bring you down. They are literally there to bring you up. So you shouldn't go into it out of fear. They're not going to give you weird looks if you give a different answer. It's not about that. It's definitely also to be yourself. There's no point in over preparing and then having a sort of like textbook answer ready for you. That's not what they want. They want to get to know the person that you are, that you will be for your mentees. So definitely just be yourself. I also say be informed about things because I think you have to be ready to deal with a question. You don't know what they're going to throw at you. It's not going to be something very odd, but you should be able to think through things. So just keep light of what's happening currently, because those are things that you should be able to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So good and so true. So true. You don't want to rehearse answers that you think sound right, because at the end of the day, if you get the role and you got it by not being yourself, you're going to have to be yourself for the rest of the term. So rather show the panel who you are and get accepted for who you are. If not, try again. You know, there was one girl who was a mentor after I think 3 years of trying to apply, which I think is amazing, epic, resilience. I just got a notification that this meeting is going to end in 10 minutes. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat for where we're going to start up the second part of it when it does cut off. But until then, Natasha, do you maybe want to add to this question?
Yeah. So for me, I'm usually a very nervous person. I get stressed out quite quickly. And I remember walking to our hardcore house and thinking, oh my goodness, how is this going to be? I'm so nervous. And then I realized, literally, as Caitlin said, be yourself. Try and see it as a conversation, because initially it is just a conversation that you're having with some other people where they're basically just asking questions about you. But if you really do feel like you want to prepare, I think you can always go and ask your mentor or another mentor that you know that you have a good bond with. Just ask them some questions or anything that you're unsure about, because I'm pretty sure that they might be able to ease you or just help you relax and just see how actually fun it can be. And just take your time when you're there, and you don't have to rush to think I have to give the perfect answer. Just think, what would you as a person do in a moment, or how would you react? So yeah, that's basically what I will have to say about it.
So good. So good. Thank you. Yeah. Love all of that, because there's nothing wrong with preparing. Like you say, there really is nothing wrong with preparing, but prepare because you want to present yourself the best, not because you want to you want to present the best of somebody else. Really awesome. Valeriia, I think I'm going to say it every time. I'm just going to say it differently. Oh my gosh.
More than welcome to. There's quite a few ways to pronounce it, so
I'm going to know all of them by the end. Yeah, anything you want to add to this?
Okay. Yeah, I was, well, I'm not sure if this is in every single race, but like I mentioned, during our interview, we had a panel of people who were interviewing each person who was applying for mentor individually. And some of those people were the outgoing mentors. And I knew them from our welcoming period, and I bonded with them during the welcoming period. So it made me feel much more at ease when I was being interviewed by them, because they were familiar faces. So I guess one of my advices is to actually make a bond with mentors and make friends with the mentors.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, like you said, like everyone else said, a lot of the questions are actually, they want to get to know you. So there's no wrong answer, because you are the one who the answer actually relates to. And then also what I would say, if you want to prepare, I think thinking of a lot of the practical implications of the way that, because everyone really has, and I But it shouldn't be, theoretical, ooh, I want to make them feel welcome. I think it's important to come up with the practical applications of how you're going to make them feel welcome, like leaving welcoming cards or leaving a chocolate on their table before they arrive and things like that. And then I think I would also say that it helps to reflect on your own experience of Welcoming Week and Welcoming Week with the mentors, and just remind yourself of what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, what you thought was effective, what you would implement again, what you would take out, bring back. And yeah, I think that would be my advice for it.
So good. Listen to that wisdom. And you touch on something that I always try to advise people before entering a caucus or an interview, is how you want to structure your thoughts as you have your vision. So that's like the ideal, the theory behind what it is that you want to fulfill in the role. And then you always want to supplement it with a practical idea and a practical plan, because a lot of the time, the people listening to your answers in the interview trust that you have a good vision for the role, but they want to see what you're practically going to do to actually fulfill it. So that's really, really good. Jot down some practical ideas. It doesn't mean the second you're elected, you have to do all 100 things you thought to do, but it shows people that there's actually something tangible that you want to achieve in your term. Awesome. We love it. We love it. We love it. Who haven't we heard from? Kiara, would you like to add?
I think everybody pretty much said everything that covers it. The only thing I would add is to remember that there isn't a perfect answer for it. Obviously, you're going to have to think. I don't think for our mentor interviews there's any way you can prepare, except I think it was what Cailin said, is be aware of campus, what's happening. And also just be yourself. The head mentor is not there to intimidate you. Also just a human, and we're looking for the best to represent our PSO. So as long as you're being yourself, that's good.
Awesome. So good. And I think something that you're all touching on now, which I know for me, before I apply for anything really, it's the make or break for me, is there's always this long list of things in the back of my head that I think that I absolutely have to know in order to actually make it for the role or make it in the role. I know before running for SRC, I was like, I need to be able to tabulate the difference between capitalism and communism. And it's like, really, what am I like, really? Like, really? So I know that there are ideas like that in people's minds of, no, there's no way I'd be able to sit through an interview because I do not know everything about what is being spoken about on the news, or I do not know every single thing about this certain topic. Are there things that you feel you absolutely have to know for the role, or things that you thought that you really had to know, but it was fine, you got to figure it out while you were in the role? And this can be just basic things in terms of res. It can be keeping up with current affairs, like you've all mentioned. But yeah, are there any specific things that you all remember that you definitely had to know coming into the role, or at least you wish you knew before coming into the role? I think, Kiara, we'll hear from you, and then we will go into the new meeting with the new link, which I hope everyone can see in the chat. Awesome.
Okay. So before I applied, I had this thought that I was going to need to know every single corner of campus. I was going to need to know every professor's name, every phone number. But I think it's also important to remember when applying that you do go through mentor training, and that answers a lot of questions. You will always have your hawk at your back, so you don't need to know every single detail. The one thing I would say is really important to know, not knowledge-wise, but just being a mentor isn't about having a hierarchy. There is no hierarchy in a PSO. You're on the same level as everybody else. That includes haka, and that includes mentees as well.
Very good. Listen to those nuggets of wisdom just being dropped just casually. She's just doing it like, this is what I do. I could write a book if you want. We still have a minute and 39 seconds, just in case anyone just came in now. When the time runs out here, because ain't no way I'm paying $20 to upgrade to Pro Zoom, we are gonna go into the second meeting. The link is in the chat, so you can just copy that and share it with your peeps, and we are going to join in there now. So I'm just gonna, let me start that meeting so everyone can leave this one and then join there.